Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Kristina Mand-Lakhiani, who is the founder of MindValley and one of the most amazing mamas that I know. Kristina, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Andrea, for having me.
Yeah.
And I'm actually surprised you said you look at me as a good mom.
Oh my goodness. No, I think you're an amazing mom. So Kristina, tell us about your relationship with parenting. You have 2 kids. How old are they? All about it. I think you're an amazing mother.
Oh God, I've never put it into words, but I have this idea that actually I heard it from one of my friends that we get kids which we can handle. So I have really awesome kids. So I believe as a mom, I probably can't handle a lot because I have amazing kids. and I guess the universe just decided not to try my patience too much. But can I be a little unserious and share a joke how I see parenting?
Of course you can.
So when you have the first child, you sterilize everything when the child is eating. When you have the second child, the child can eat anything except cat food. When you have the third child, if the child ate the cat food, that's cat's problem.
That's so true. That's right. That's very, very true.
And well, I haven't gotten to the third one, but I kind of skipped a step somewhere in between. But my relationship with parenting is, oh wow, it's such an interesting question. You know, we take that in a way for granted. It just happens to us, and we just go into that, and then we think that we can figure it out along the way. Of course, I was trying to prepare for it, but how can you prepare for it anyway? Especially that it changes from year to year, from month to month in the earlier stages. So it's been a trying experience sometimes. My first child wasn't an easy experience for me, and despite my joke in the very beginning, but I had some big questions about just coping with it. I remember when he was born and I was left alone in the maternity ward and my mom went to sleep at home and my husband wasn't in the country yet. I was literally terrified staying alone with that new human being whose life depended on me so fully. And I was thinking, like, how can you trust me with another life when I don't understand anything? And of course it evolved from there, but that realization that somebody's life depends on you is actually so scary. So I guess at some point you just stop thinking about that. It's like you're out on this journey, so you have to just keep going. And if you overthink it, it's going to be too hard. But it's been an interesting study of me and of life and of reality. So yeah,
that's very true. What is one of the lessons that one of your kids or both of your kids have taught you?
Well, definitely patience. That's a big lesson. It took so much patience so many times, and patience in the sense that sometimes you'd like the solution to happen right away, but it takes time. And with other things, you can push it, like with work, you can push it, with a project, you can push it, you can stay up all night. But with children, you sometimes have to just patiently wait until they change, until they grow, until it's biology. It's like when you decide to be a parent, you still have to patiently wait for 9 months until you actually become one. So it's a lot of patience is number one. And number two would be understanding what love can be like.
Tell me more about that.
Sorry?
Tell me more about that. What do you mean when you say love, understanding more of what love can be like?
Well, of course, there are different types of love, and we usually associate love with more romantic things, but surprisingly, the patience I have with my children, the acceptance, the tolerance of everything. I think it is something which you can compare to your relationship with your friends, with your lovers, with spouses, whoever has what. And I understand. I feel that I express myself the best, or I behave the best when it comes to loving children. But when it comes to anyone else, like parents or friends or partners, then that's where I start thinking, like, no, but if it was my child, I would forgive. Or if it was my child, I would still have faith. So yeah. it's a huge lesson in the real meaning of unconditional love for me.
Yeah, it's so true. And I have never thought about it that way, that if I extend the same grace to everyone else in my life that I do to my kids, what would that look like from a love standpoint? But because I definitely can relate to, like, I love my children in a way that I don't love anyone else in the world. They're super special that way. I'm curious, tell us, so you grew up in Estonia, which frankly, when you and I met, I had to look up where was Estonia on a map. So I think you probably hear that all the time. If you don't know where Estonia is, go find it on a map and look it up. You grew up in Estonia, and I have a few friends from Estonia now, and I think you guys are all so interesting to meet because our cultures are so different than like the North American culture, and in some ways we're very, very the same. I'm curious, what's one thing you learned from your mom?
Well, my mom was actually a mom, or had to learn to be a mom in a completely different environment, because I was born in Soviet Union, and it wasn't what Estonia is like right now. Right now, we are part of European Union, so we are like any other Western country, maybe still catching up economically in certain aspects, but generally its mentality and cultural environment is the same. But where I was born was a different country, which doesn't exist anymore. And I was talking to my mom, because tomorrow is the International Women's Day, and I was chatting with my mom and joking that I don't understand why Russian people have to do it about just flowers, and you know, it's like in a way almost romantic. It's a little bit similar to Valentine's Day, but in one direction. And my mom actually made me think a little bit, because I realized as I was talking to her that when it comes to women's rights and equality and women's opportunities in the society, Soviet Union was actually surprisingly very egalitarian, and in a way it was good. Because women could do whatever they wanted. They could make a career. They studied, obviously, they were in science everywhere. But on the other hand, it was a lot of pressure, because there is also this traditional thing that woman has to be a good housewife, that her house has to be pretty and clean, and the dinner has to be tasty, and the kids have to be clean, and their noses shouldn't be running. So it was a very interesting society, because it was taken for granted. The women there in the Soviet Union were in a way superwomen, because that was just the requirement. So I guess what I learned from my mom was maybe not the thing that I needed, but I learned that a woman can do everything simultaneously. She can have a career, a full-on career like any man, a perfectly functional house, perfectly well-behaved children, and also look good. And on one side, it's an empowering thing to know, of course. But on the other side, it took a huge discovery to realize that what a mother really needs, or what a woman really needs, mother or no mother, is to be okay with asking for help and trusting. And that is something I had to learn on my own. Because my mom was actually even displaced from her hometown, so she had no relatives, no family. We didn't have help in Soviet Union, obviously. So yeah, it was an interesting thing. I had a very high bar to to match when I became mother. And it took me a lot of unlearning. And I don't want to say it in a bad way. Right. I absolutely admire my mom, but I wish that I asked for help a little earlier.
I think that's one of the things that we as moms often do forget, is to ask for help. Like I see that a lot with, it's something I had to learn as well. I am very good at it now. I feel like my ask for help muscle is very strong, but it took me a long time. So I'm curious, you refer to yourself often as an everyday philosopher. And so on this whole concept of asking for help, what would you say to a mom that, either feels resistance to that or doesn't know how to ask for help in the spot that they're in right now?
I think that I remember myself when I started doing that. When I had my first child, I had a mentor and a friend a lady who was older than me, and she said, I don't give advice usually, but I want to give you this one advice: ask for help. And it was a long journey asking for help, because it took me a long time before I started actually doing that. But I remembered the advice. And what I remember from those early days is that the hardest thing is to actually get out of your own way.
Yeah.
We don't ask for help not because of any other reason, but just not trusting. Not trusting that somebody else can do that for us, especially when it comes to nannies. Getting a nanny for the first time is a super hard thing. But it goes beyond just nannies. I ended up with 4 people working in my household alone. Of course, I lived in Asia and it was possible, but still, it's usually this thing, but I can do it myself. Why should I ask for help? Like, why should I have someone from outside come in and clean my own house? It's my home. I don't want anyone from outside. How can I trust my own child with someone that I don't know? And things like that. And then there is also, when it comes to nannies, there was also jealousy. I was really worried. What if my kid gets more attached to this another person and not me? And it's just such a scary thing to just let go and trust that someone else can do a thing for you. You don't have to do it. And that was probably the hardest. And then finding help and making it work. This is secondary. The moment when you are ready, you will find out. I never liked to cook, but I always tried so hard, because a good woman has to cook, and a good wife should be a good housewife as well. A lot of garbage ideas. And then one day I found this nice bookmark in their shop. And there was this sexy red-haired lady it said there on the bookmark, "I can't cook, who cares?" And when I saw this bookmark, I was like, oh my God, this is about me. I can't cook, but who cares? And surprisingly, the moment when I decided to myself, I'm going to stop pretending and trying so hard. I'll just admit I don't like it. I can if I have to, and I'm actually not bad, but I just don't like it. The moment when I just admitted that, I said it out loud, a lady came to me, and she was hired by my former business partner who left the country, and the lady was left without the job. And she was like, can you please help me? I need something to do. Can I do something for you at home? She ended up being my cook. I didn't look for a cook. I didn't look for help. I actually tried to be nice to a person who was stranded, and I got help. And it's literally just our readiness. Are we ready to accept that or not? The moment we are ready, we'll figure it out. And I understand that in the West, it's more difficult because the wages are different level, and it's not as simple as it was in Asia. But come on, if you have more than one child, there's your help. My kids,
or like even your partner, or the other moms that are your friends. Like sometimes we don't even ask for that for help. I know when my kids were littler, I think about all the times I would have gladly taken someone's kids, while they went grocery shopping in peace, or while they went and did something, and we just didn't train ourselves to ask for it always. So there's, it doesn't have to be hired help. It's sometimes also just help, like you say, from your own kids. Like I'm a single mom, and I run my house where my kids also help. They help do dishes. They help make sure the house is clean. Like we all live together, and we joke now that we're all roommates. Like, it's a collective to have a household run smoothly.
And actually, when your children help you, then even such horrible things as, and I'm just saying it from my own perspective because I don't like cooking, they suddenly become so much more fun, because it's a process of growing and learning together and spending time together, and it's also a very, very great help. So yeah, that I guess is the biggest thing. You need to ask for help, and it goes beyond just at home. Another area where I learned to ask for help was actually psychology, and I would broadly call it psychology. But we all come across questions which we don't know answers for. So I I didn't know which language to speak to my children because my then husband was speaking English to them, and the family was speaking English, but I'm not English speaker by birth. So I decided to speak Estonian, and then I heard criticism. Oh, the kids are going to be confused. So I went online. I made a research. I spent quite a few days researching the question to get an answer from professionals. Is it okay if I do expose them to different languages, how to do it properly? It turns out that 2/3 of the population of the world are born bilingual, and actually children from birth are capable of learning 5 languages. 5. Wow. I taught them 3.
What do they speak? English, Estonian,
and Russian a little bit, but now they're in school. They're studying a lot of French, and my older kid is now studying Spanish as well. So it's Europe. In Europe, you have to know more than 2 usually. And then the tablets, the screen time. How do you regulate that? You can look for help among your friends and see how they're doing that, or you can go and research that question. I learned it the hard way because my oldest kid has Asperger's syndrome, which I was not aware of because he's very functional, so it was not easy to detect. And it was the school that he was going to who was forcing me and pushing me, and they said, you have to go and do the testing. Before we got the diagnosis, I sometimes was afraid of my own child because I just couldn't understand him. And I wasn't afraid in the bad way. I was just so nervous because I didn't know how to deal with certain situations. And I would get so upset if I just couldn't understand what was going on with the kid. Although he's like it's hard really to understand. It's such a diagnosis which is difficult to explain in words. You just feel that something is off, but you can't understand what it is. And then finally, when I gave in and I went to the psychologists and psychiatrists, in fact, as well, and we did 2 days of diagnosis. And then on day 2, they sat me down and said, okay, so now we know what's going on, and this is what's going on. This is the diagnosis, and this is what it means. The school was nice enough. They sent me to 2 days of training, which I really enjoyed. But the fact is that my relationship with my kid turned 180 degrees. And where it was a nightmare just because I was so scared because I didn't understand what was going on, it turned into like, it was a breeze. I could, it's, it's like when you finally solve a puzzle, you feel the satisfaction.
Yeah.
And you want another puzzle. So, and that was a trying experience for me, but it also taught me that you really need, like, growing children is not something that just comes naturally. Love alone is not enough. When my first kid was born, I was thinking, love, as long as I love you, it's all going to be fine. As long as I love you, it's going to be fine. No, you need to learn. You need to change. You need to adapt. You need to grow together with the child. And sometimes you need to go and ask for professional help. And of course, my case was like medical case, if I can say, some diagnosable case. But there are simpler things, tantrums, certain like a child could do things which you just don't know how to deal with that. Like my friend discovered that her teenage girl has a vape. How do you deal with that? And we all face this kind of things. What do you do? The best thing to do is actually go and ask professionals because they know answers.
Yes, and they deal with it all day long. I had similar with my daughter, who's dyslexic, and it took us about a year to finally go and get a proper assessment and be able to put some understanding around why she couldn't read. And I had resistance for that year. And I think, man, and just like I can relate to that, as soon as we understood what it was, we were able to teach her how to read the way she needed to learn. And now she can read. She's, excelling at school. We knew her IQ was really high. But the faster you ask for help, the quicker you can get over those hurdles, is what I heard you say there. Like, once you could understand it, then your relationship with him got better. And it's a matter of really asking faster for help sometimes. Because those professionals deal with it all day long. They see that. So that's really good advice. Well, thank you very much for joining us. This was delightful. I love the takeaways of really asking for help sooner and asking for help from professionals sooner. I will definitely ponder that one. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.